10 days from now, I'm opening my dream business. And I've decided that to celebrate what God has done in my life and how He brought me to this place, and before I go and fetch my keys to my store that we're opening, I want to tell you a story. And I want you to experience the intentionality of God the way I am right now. So, 5 years ago, on a random Tuesday, I was invited with a friend to go out with him while he got his tattoo, and then we got something to drink afterwards. And in that season of my life, I was in such a downward spiral, if you can call it that. Um, I had no idea who I was. And on that Tuesday, he got his tattoo, and then after he got his tattoo, we were going to sit at this bar that used to be in my town called Windpomp. And while we sat there, um, we decided we were only going to drink one drink, and then one drink became a lot of drinks. And I became so blackout drunk, right, that I can't remember anything. I cannot remember that night for the life of me. All I know is I have this flash of sitting on the outside of the pavement, kind of throwing up, which is disgusting. And my sister and my mom were phoned to come and fetch me. And I remember after that night, something inside of me experienced so much shame and so much fear because I couldn't remember the night. I had no idea what happened to me, that I reached a breaking point. And at that breaking point was the first time that I really told God to take control of my life, because I couldn't do that anymore. I was done. I was finished. I was over it, right? And He took me from 5 years ago all the way to a journey to where I am now. And I remember sitting in my room one night before I decided to move in obedience. And we can't get into details right now because it's a very long story. We're going to have to walk it out. But I remember sitting in my room, and the first thing that I asked Him was, why am I here? And what am I supposed to do with my life? And at that point, I was smoking a joint. So, you know, but that question has now been answered in such a way and through such a story that I am literally opening the store that is the answer to that question right next to the building that used to be the bar that broke me. That was my breaking point. That night at that bar was my breaking point. And literally, right next to that building, it's not a bar anymore, it's for sale now. But right next to that building is where 5 years of healing and praying and obeying the voice of God brought me to experience the fulfillment of His promises and the restoration of His word upon my life. I know now who I am and what I'm made to do on this earth. And I've decided that for the 10 days counting down to opening my store, as I introduce you to the concept and I introduce you to what it is and how it's going to work, if I'm going to tell anyone's story to launch this with, I might as well start with mine. So I'm going to go fetch my keys, and then I'm going to have a journey with you down the timeline of these past 5 years. And together, we're going to see what exactly God does with someone who says, here I am, Lord, help me, send me, use me. Because that is the testimony of my life. And if you're seeing me right now and you are extremely curious, I want to invite you to come along, because there's so much that happened and there's so much that I can tell you, it's impossible to do it in one video. So, in a nutshell, which kind of seems to be the theme of my wording. Anyway, in a nutshell, my business captures people's stories. I'm a portrait painter, but I also am really good at doing line drawings. So every single story that I share with you is going to be attached to a design, and that design will be on merchandise in my shop, and a few other things that you will meet and be introduced to as we move forward. But I am really excited to see what God does next, because the intentionality and the detail of Him picking the literal physical address of the space that almost took me out as the exact same space to restore and raise me up into my purpose. And I pray that my story inspires you to pursue the voice of God over your life above all else. And I'll see you in the next video.